All right, welcome back to another Ladder Legends replay analysis. This time it is Wookiee Juice, and we're going to analyze kind of the ZVP matchup kind of as a whole and talk about things that he's playing against AdobeKenobi, and we're going to talk about the things that needs to happen in the ZVP matchup in order to survive. So even though it's Wookiee Juices, we'll be analyzing from the side of the Zerg and just kind of talking about what things the Zerg need to be thinking of and care about. So ultimately, one of the first things, and we saw this with our games versus Yo-Yo today, we played some custom games, but it is very, very difficult to survive versus Adepts and Oracles. And so ultimately, 3 hatch before pool is the build selection going for. And what this is going to prove is what this is going to create is a very difficult situation where Adepts and Oracles, you're not going to have quite the queen count to like solidly deal with Adepts and Oracles. So we'll see if that comes into play, but this is a weakness of the build that we're seeing. So the first Adept comes out on map. And one of the big things about this Adept here, it should have total map control until Ling Speed finishes. So Ling Speed just started with this build, which means that this Adept should be able to kite around and do whatever it wants to like put on pressure. And ultimately, it kind of wants to stay alive until the second Adept finishes, so then they can go on and put in pressure together. It has a lot of time to do that based on the fact that Ling Speed is nowhere close to finishing. Ultimately, the Adept opts to charge after these Zerglings. Maybe not the best idea, but with good micro, you should be able to kill. So we attack, we need to move backwards. And already, we need to move away from these lings, so probably if we can see these lings, we should move away from these lings. So probably we should be moving in this direction over here. But also we can throw the shade. The shade will make it difficult. You don't actually have to kite these lings necessarily. You can kite them some, but ultimately you just want to minimize damage because what you can really do is you can have this shade go into the natural, and you can either go here as like a way to survive until the next Adept comes, or an even stronger move is you could come here and come into like this little nook. And so at this point, the lings would be, their minds would have to be split. Do we continue chasing the Adept that's running away from us this way? Or do we chase the shade? And if we chase the Adept, you just keep running. You keep running, so you minimize the damage the Adept takes, and then you'll end up here because the Adept has minimal damage, and there's nothing here to deal with the Adept. And so you start attacking drones, and the drones are very sad. They have to pull completely out of the natural. If like the best move in this case would pull the drones completely out of the natural, maybe drop an Evo on the way out, and then the Lings have to walk all the way back here. But now we've denied tons of mining time, and the Adept is just kind of sitting here chilling, waiting for his next buddy to arrive. Worst case scenario, and probably likely scenario, is he's going to lose a couple drones while he does it. That's what happened to me many times against Yo-Yo. So ultimately, this interaction out here is going very strangely because the psionic transfer was not ever thrown, and when it was thrown backwards instead of forwards. So now, if it's going backwards, the Lings really have no choice to make. They don't need to follow this psionic transfer. It's not going anywhere threatening or useful. So the Adept gets out with 2 HP, barely, it's life. And the Lings basically, even though this was like a massive win for the Zerg, they basically should not have been able to happen due to the fact that like the Adept should have been threatening much more. So that's just something to consider. Okay, so now we're droning pretty hard, and this is fine. We have Ling Speed. So at this point, the Adepts come in, but the time of the Adept is over. The Adepts cannot be out here until they have Oracle support. Those should be dead Adepts. So essentially, we have 7 Zerglings here. One thing to note is you should have your Queens come in a move after, so that your Queens start attacking the Adepts. It helps add a little bit of DPS. And then we just want to make sure that we don't kind of over micro here. So this queen can come over this way. We already have a queen making here, so this queen can come to the third anyway. We need a queen at the natural as well. But we can, when we when we're walking this way, this queen would like intercept these Adepts, start putting some damage down, and then the Lings could surround, and then everything here dies. As it stands, we are sort of move commanding past, we probably want to start with like an A move, and then you could maybe box select a few and then try to move command and trap. So I would A move here, so they start attacking. Everything starts attacking, so we start getting the DPS down. Then box select a few, then go forward and try to surround. Because basically he gets to throw his shade, and like we haven't been DPSing him this entire time. If we start attacking him, like as soon as and we start like DPS him immediately, there's a good chance we get at least one of these adepts here. Instead, they get out and they start doing even more havoc. This is what kind of should have happened to begin with. But now these adepts are kind of getting away with it. So before the Zerg was getting away with a lot more than he was supposed to, now the adepts are getting away with a lot more than he was supposed to. Okay, so things are going kind of crazy. So let's see where the dust settles on all this. The dust settles with the Protoss being 42 workers, having a third base on the way, having an Oracle out, two Oracles out, and the Zerg has 29 Lings and 38 drones. This is a problem because these Lings should never be able to cancel this. The Oracles kind of, as we sort of saw with the Adepts, right now the Adepts should have seen that there's a big mistake going on by the Protoss player, or by the by the Protoss player here, which is we just got a lot of damage done. We don't really need to be looking for like the game, like we've got game-ending damage done, I would say. And so we don't really need to be looking for a lot more. We know Ling speed is out. We see 3 Lings there. We see that he's pulling away here. Those 3 Lings come back. We see more Lings pop. So now we know that there's tons of there's more Lings than the initial that was needed on the map. And we also know we've done quite a bit of damage. So what the Protoss player wants to be doing at this point is they want to kind of consolidate. They want to spend their bank that they've been accumulating. They should have spent it already. But they should be thinking to themselves, I just did a lot of damage. I need to make sure that I get all my money spent. And I can maybe send one Oracle out because I want to see, is he taking a 4th base? Is like, what are the drone saturations all the places? Is he making tech structures anywhere? So, but ultimately I want to keep another Oracle back so that I keep my base alive. I'm not looking to be super aggressive with these 2 Oracles necessarily because I lost all of my map control. So I have no idea what's coming. I did see extra Lings coming. And I already got a good bit of damage, so I don't need to get more damage. I just need to capitalize on the lead that I already have. What actually happens is both Oracles go across the map. The Lings get in. Somehow they still don't kill anything of importance. So, like, imagine if the Oracle would have been here to begin with. We wouldn't have even gotten the Cybernetics core. So as it stands, the Protoss is still probably favored here, although probably a little bit of a blunder and throwing a little bit back. Interesting. Will this base go down? Will this base go down? It does go down. I think still favored for the Protoss player here. Except for one big problem, which is the Protoss player has tons of money. So I would say the only issue here is that there is no follow-on tech happening for the Protoss player. So should he address that, then he would be in a great spot. Whereas Zerg just now taking the 4th base. Again, I would say that this is probably he's only on 2 gases. If I didn't have map hacks, if I just knew this from the Zerg's state of the game, I would call the Zerg completely dead. With map hacks, the Zerg has an opportunity because the Protoss does not have follow-on technology coming, so they can go all in and just completely make Lings and Banes and try to win the game. It's important to note that as they do that, they need to convert all of their bank into like units, and they need to actually like fully overwhelm and kill the 3rd, break into the natural, kill probes and stuff. We're not talking about like they need to they need to do some damage. They need to like fully commit and kill at this point. Even with map hacks, I'm saying that. Like, and in game, if I didn't have map hacks, I would think the same thing, to be honest, but I wouldn't think that there was a chance. I think there's a chance now that I'm looking at the whole game. So this is kind of good. One thing I'll note is that you can always attack like you can always, like, even though you know you're all in, you still haven't converted all of your like larvae. You need to make all of your larvae into units. You haven't converted all of this, so we're not really ready to like fully commit on the attack, but we should still put on pressure. And so how we can put on pressure is we're not really ready to take on the fortified position yet. We can take like this outer position, kill some cannons, kill some exposed depths, we cancel the third again. And then while we're doing that, we can be building the attack, building the attack, building the attack. But right now, we're just committing into the fight, and we're more or less losing the ability to continue. So now, kind of like I was mentioning in a replay analysis earlier today, we've bled out a bunch of units already, and so now like the chance to win the game has kind of slipped through our fingers, even in this game. Now that I'm looking, because now I'm looking, in the meantime, while that attack happened, there was a Templar Archives and a Fleet Beacon. So we needed those units alive and trading efficiently, and then to meet up with all the reinforcements we were going to get in order to have a chance of winning this game. So now that those units have gone, it's going to be very difficult to actually get a force together that would actually threaten. And so now the Storm Tech is going to come online, and we still haven't done what we need to do. So don't be fooled by the scoreline. This is a very Protoss-dominated game at this point. Zerg is essentially stuck right now on technology that is already obsolete based on the fact that there is High Templars with Storm out. He needs to be looking towards some sort of hive tech, right? He needs a transition. And a Spire ain't gonna cut it. So yeah, he needs to be. I like what's going on here. He's setting up the two sort of sides, but he should be spending all of this money into like into Link Bane. Probably no Spire here. I would just quit that. And then like if you can't take another, if you don't have Larva to put into the attack, which we kind of do. So, be careful that you don't like here. Let's see, we have 20 larvae. We have a Lurker Den. I like the Lurker Den. However, I don't like that the Lurker Den is coming with the Spire and not with an Infestation Pit, because we can't actually make Lurkers until we get Hive Tech. You have to get the ranged in order to make Lurkers. Therefore, the transition out of this is spend all of your money in larvae, so because you can't transition, you have to like do critical game-ending damage to them. And if you ever hit 0 on the larva and you still have enough money for an infestation pit, you make an infestation pit. Because then we're going to spend all our larva, and if you ever then have enough money to make a hive, we're going to start a hive. And after the hive starts, we're going to spend our larva, and if we ever have enough money to start a Lurker Den, we'll start our Lurker Den. And that's because, obviously, the infestation pit gatekeeps the hive. The hive takes 71 seconds. The Lurker Den only takes 57 seconds. Therefore, the infestation pit is the very first piece of tech we need in order to, if we can possibly find the damage that we need in order to stay in the game, the infestation pit is the way to get that. Also, we're going to eventually need a 5th base because we're going to need the gases. So I would say infestation pit, spend all your money into, is like the number one. If you have gas for the infestation pit, after you spend money on all your lings, the infestation pit is the priority. If you don't have gas, then the 5th base would be your priority. But you still have money, the 5th base would be your priority. It's possible that even in the case that you still have gas left over, it's probably still even a right call to just keep making lings and banes. Because if you have gas, then you can make more banes. And since we're all in, more banes means more oomph right now. And oomph right now is what we need to win. So at this point, I would still be making mass ling and then maybe a 5th base, like mass lings. And then if I have gas left over, I'll make banes. And then if I still have minerals left over, I'd probably make a 5th base. So we come in. Okay. We're still in this wasn't enough damage. It was good damage. There's a problem, though. The problem is the mothership is started. We still have a giant, and we obviously didn't trade. What needed to happen here to make this enough damage was we threatened to fight here, but we don't actually fight. We actually, as soon as his army shows up, we pull back here, and then because this army's going in. So if we pull back here, keep his keep threatening to fight over here, but don't actually fight, keep all of this alive, and then this goes in and does its thing, then, now actually I would say that the game state is even, because Protoss took huge losses, very down economically, still very up in tech, but the Zerg player, the Zerg player might even be winning because, like, if they had done what they needed to do, which is infestation pit, and then we're working on the hive immediately, then they would be in a winning position. Since they didn't do that, I would call it an even game because Protoss is still massively up in tech, but massively down in economy. But Zerg has an army. But because we engaged in both sides, actually engaged, massively won over here, but massively lost over here. So Zerg is still losing. And fighting in a storm. By the way, there's no reason to fight here. As soon as this base goes down, now the Protoss, if they want to continue to attack, they need to come up this ramp. So we don't need to come down and defend anything here anymore. So all this walking down here is probably like we would have been better served by like keep taking all of our lings and counterattacking, and then trying with the Hydra Bane and reinforcements to hold up here and be like, hey, Protoss, do you want to attack me? You need to come up here. If we did that and we countered and we actually killed this, then we're starting to like again regain a possibility of getting back in of getting an advantage in the game, or really being even, I guess. Yeah. I would say being even or getting an advantage. Okay, that was good pickoffs, and there's one tiny giant issue, which is the mothership is now online, and the mothership is pretty much all he really needs to hold this attack. There's nothing that shoots up here. The Hydras are eons away. By the time the Hydras get here, he will have storms again, because he has tons of gas. So there's really no advantage. Also, layer tech lurkers again, not so good. The problem with layer tech lurkers is, look at the range. Very small. Very small. This lurker can't attack this immortal that's attacking this lurker. If we have the range, then both the lurkers can attack. Now, we don't really have enough lurkers anyway, but even if we did, like, it's because of this interaction here, right? The lurkers in the front can't be supported by lurkers in the back. Therefore, the Protoss beefy units, beefy boys can just steamroll them. We have the same problem where Protoss is on really good tech, no economy, but like nothing that the Zerg player is building is hive tech based, and therefore none of it's actually challenging the technology that is available. As soon as Storm comes out, especially with the mothership now, like we need hive tech to challenge this. It's the same problem. No economy for the Protoss, but nothing to challenge the tech. And yeah, that's going to be a GG. The issue is that we're not teching to hive. We need hive tech. We need to be having range lurkers. We need to be having good upgrades. The range lurkers stop the storm, right? We need more of them. We need to get off the Ling Bane at some point. And ultimately, like, even getting like we needed to do critical damage with the Ling Bane to even give us stable so where we could be good in the game. All right, if you enjoyed this Ladder Legends replay analysis, please like and subscribe, join Ladder Legends, and you too can have your game analyzed.